Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Money Podcast, your source for all things money. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Michelle Govimdsamy on the line, and she's a finance professional and founder over at Brogues. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Hi, Adam. Thank you for having me.
Oh, man, so I'm so excited to get into these topics. So we're going to talk about Brogues, which is one of your passion projects, and I think it's a really cool thing that you're doing. But before we do that, let's go a little bit further into your background. So how did you get started in business and in your career?
Well, I was deciding on where to take my career in high school when people usually think about it. And at that time, I was uncertain. And there was this school of thought, when in doubt, do finance. It opens up a myriad of doors for you. And that is the route I went. I studied finance, and then I trained at Deloitte, which I'm very proud of. It was just the epitome of professionalism. And I loved working in that environment and rubbing shoulders with just such hardworking and talented individuals, which really just opened my mind from the small town I was from to working in big corporates with big clients. I thoroughly enjoyed that experience in finance. And so from there, my career was in big corporates in South Africa, predominantly, and in financial institutions, so some of the largest banks in Africa. I worked as a finance professional and continued my career. And finance became something I just thoroughly enjoyed because I always found myself leaning towards non-traditional finance roles, which were exciting. I got to really get elbow deep in business. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just really passionate about finance and you know, the landscape that I've been able to see.
That's awesome. And I think that's a great transition. So let's just dive right into today's topic. So let's get into Brogues. Tell us a little bit more about the project, please.
Yeah, so, you know, I think finishing off from my discussion on my finance career, and as I said, I'd always taken non-traditional finance roles. And when I was in these non-traditional finance roles, I sometimes felt like an outsider because usually I was one of a few doing things like business partnering or more financial modeling, opposed to your usual preparing financial statements and doing reconciliations, which was more traditional finance. So it was quite isolating being in those roles. However, in those roles, I could strongly see the value that those roles brought to business and the need for more focus and more support for such roles to grow. And that is when I started thinking about Brogues. So Brogues for me represents evolution. It was my evolution from what I thought I needed to be as a finance professional, you know, the high heels and the pencil skirts, to who I really was, and that was this girl in brogues and the blazer and just, you know, getting into the data and the analytics and my hands dirty with business. And that's when what Brogues focuses on, the evolution of the finance profession in two areas. One, being more women joining the finance conversation in public platforms. And two, finance evolving from the traditional finance roles to digital roles. And when I say digital, I don't mean just the tech and just the data. I mean the mindset and the passion and the partnering.
No, I love this. And I want you to expand a little bit more on what it means for more women to join the finance conversation, specifically in public forums, because I think it's a very, it's something that that we're working on, and that there's a lot of people like yourself who have various organizations and companies that are trying to do this, but it seems like the advancement could be happening a little bit faster. Give us a little bit more of a feel for where you think this is going, because I'm a big fan of what you're doing.
Yeah, so it started when I was invited to a conference and, well, not invited. I was given the opportunity, by accident to speak at a conference. And it was daunting and it was scary, and it was on a very much technical topic of data and modeling. And when I spent the 2 days at the conference, I noticed that my panel of speakers was the only all-female panel, and there were probably only 2 other speakers within 2 days of 8 hours of conferencing that were women. And it was so obvious to me, and I was wondering, is it not obvious to anyone else? How much of effort could it be to ensure that there was some diversity on that panel? And then it was further shown to me on social media. So I've been exploring LinkedIn quite a lot, and I just love the platform. And I would just see these technical finance discussions being had, but there weren't really a lot of women participating in those technical conversations and joining that conversation. And it surprised me because in finance, I'm surrounded by amazing, powerful, qualified women who are outspoken. So finance was made of so many women, but they're just not showing up in these public platforms. And I believe they have so much value to add and a unique perspective. So that's where I saw, okay, something needs to happen here. And I started thinking about it. And me, myself, someone who, didn't grab these opportunities. Because I think as women, we think these opportunities are going to come to us. We are waiting for someone to recognize us, opposed to advocating for ourselves and going in and seeking out those opportunities. Or we're waiting to be the absolute expert before we take on these challenges. And I just want to be that voice that we don't have to be the expert. Just give it a go. I mean, exactly to what you're doing. Everyone has a mission and it matters. So everyone has something to add into the conversation. So we should just join it and not doubt ourselves. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And how I started very much just by being a voice. So on a platform like LinkedIn, inserting myself into conversations and just speaking about these things. And then starting to speak about very technical finance matters. And when I would celebrate anyone on the platform, or when I would ask for an opinion, I would be calling on the women in my network to join the conversation. So kind of doing it in quite a out there way, just, so what do you think? And just tagging for women, when previously I'd see posts where it was just, they weren't represented. And then I just started going Brogues as a LinkedIn page. And now it's just to build this community, to share content, just to get people, I want to speak a lot and develop a lot of content about advocating for yourself and just ways in which women need to do that, and just really break that thinking that someone is going to recognize you. You need to advocate for yourself.
Man, I love it. I think it's a great mission. I think it's amazing what you're doing. I love your aggressive style, Michelle. So you're like, I'm going to tag him. I'm going to bring him in. What do you think about this? I'm glad you asked. I love it. That's like you're not just advocating. You're pulling women into the discussion. So I'm a fan of that. You have to do it though, and hopefully they'll do the same and do that same gift, because I agree with you completely. There's so many amazing women out there that are in powerful positions in finance that aren't as active publicly with their conversations as maybe some other people that are active that aren't as I don't want to say not talented, but let's just say they maybe not be as far along in their career, but they're very vocal, so they have a lot to say. So I'm glad you're pulling in the right people, Michelle. So that being said, if somebody is listening to this and they want to learn more about joining the Going Brogues movement, or following your work and the content that you're putting out, what's the best way for them to do that?
I think the best way would be to connect with my LinkedIn page, the Going Brogues LinkedIn page, or my Going Brogues website. And there's also a Going Brogues page on Facebook. So, just find me, particularly on LinkedIn. But, it's to discuss all things finance. There's very specific missions, but a lot of the things I've spoken about my career particularly, for example, not being a qualified accountant as it's called, having not completed my board exams, but yet being passionate about finance, is another topic I've tackled, which wasn't part of my initial mission, but the feedback and the need for support on that topic has been great. So yeah, it's just looking at who are these passionate finance professionals that want to take finance into the future, and how are we going to do that?
That's awesome. Well, Michelle, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about what you're doing as a finance professional and a founder over at Brogues. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Money, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments in the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Michelle, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you, Adam. You are phenomenal. What you're doing is incredible. Thank you.